next speaker from the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association. And my pleasure here to announce Kateryna Knysh. I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. You're head of analytical department of the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association. And Kateryna, it's a pleasure to have you with us here and to present us the status of the wind power market in Ukraine.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. Thank you, Mr. Stefan, for your such a great introduction. Just a minute, I share with you my presentation. Is it available?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. First of all, I want to tell that it's a pleasure for me to represent the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association today during the World Wind Energy Association webinar. Thank you to the World Wind Energy Association representatives for the organization and to each participants for the interest in Ukrainian wind energy markets. It's really important for us. So, coronavirus, the most used word this year and the greatest manager of our lives. Normal life may have stalled in 2020. The human suffering and economic crisis have been and continue to be unprecedented. As we enter these challenging times, the climate emergency persists and the planet continues to be threatened. The wind energy sector is no exception. It has also been affected by the pandemic, unfortunately. 2019 has been closed with significant achievement in the development of wind energy in Ukraine. Our total installed capacity reached 1,000 megawatt. Comparing to the previous year, in 2020, our wind power market faced lots of challenges. First of all, some projects have been unable to meet constructional and delivery schedules due to logistical restrictions. As soon as lockdown was legally declared as a force majeure, businesses faced lots of notifications from contractors and subcontractors on force majeure existence and the inability to fulfill their obligations indefinitely. The imposition of lockdown and the shift of enterprises to remote caused the temporary closure of enterprises, shopping centers, airports, and other large consumers of electricity, which led to some changes in the structure of electricity consumption in Ukraine. In general, we cannot let the coronavirus crisis become a loss of opportunity. We need a sustainable future more than ever. Despite all above-mentioned challenges, the wind power sector in Ukraine demonstrates its resilience. As of third half of 2020, the installed wind capacity in the mainland of Ukraine reached 1,251 megawatt. Unfortunately, approximately 225 megawatts still remains in the territories annexed by Russian Federation, of which 87 megawatts in Crimea Peninsula and 138 in annexed territories, occupied territories of Donetsk and Luhansk region. The dynamics of the development of installed capacity from 2013 to 2020 is quite wavy. As you can see, in 2016 and 2017, there was a significant drop in both installed capacity and electricity generation. We can also could explain it by the Russian aggression against Ukraine. While from 2090, you can see a gradual recovery and growth. By the end of 2020, we expect, as Ukrainian Wind Energy Association, the total installed wind capacity to be equal to 1,550 megawatts. Nowadays, there are 27 wind power plants operating in 8 regions of Ukraine. Around 400 wind turbines with an average unit capacity of 3.3 megawatt have been installed so far in the country. Zaporizhzhia region continues to remain its position as the Ukraine's wind power leader. Additional 400 megawatt are under construction now, and 5,000 megawatt have successfully received construction permits. Compared to 2018 and in 2019, investment in wind power sector increased almost tenfold, up to nearly 2 billion euros. That is equal to more than a quarter of the total investment in the national renewable energy sector. The share of wind power in electricity production comes to 2.25%. Over the past 3 years, the most dynamic sectors of renewable energy in Ukraine remains wind and solar. This year, we have some legislative changes that for sure will influence the further market development. Marina will tell us in detail about it. In the summer of 2020, the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association conducted a survey devoted to employment issues among its members. Today, UWEA unites more than 75 companies, of which 50 companies were survived. 30% of these companies are engaged exclusively in wind power. According to our results, the total number of employees who directly or indirectly involved in the UWEA's companies is about 4,000 persons. The largest number of employees is involved in companies engaged in production of wind power equipment and green electricity, as well as construction of wind farms, I mean developers. According to the data, out of these 4,000, 1,000 are women, which is about 25%. Most women are employed in companies that provide investment, legal, or consulting services. The highest gender balance is traced in legal and investment companies. Despite all prospects of RES sector and a significant number of people who are already employed in this sector, 36% of survived companies feel lack of qualified staff. In other words, every third company working with renewable energy projects needs new, highly qualified specialists. In general, UWEA member companies need specialists in the field of IT technology, engineering, and law in the field of renewable energy. English, that's important. English is required for the employment of the above specialists. What will wind energy market in Ukraine look like tomorrow? As for today, the future of wind power market in Ukraine stipulates by transition of Ukraine to the renewable energy by 2050, which provide for 25 gigawatt of wind energy by 2030 and 60 gigawatt of wind energy by 2050. And about a little more about UWEA forecast by 2030, we predict that by 2030 in Ukraine, the total installed wind energy capacity will reach 7 gigawatt, which is 21.5 million kilowatt hours generated electricity and delivered by wind farms. And of course, we see the wind power in Ukraine as a main source for green hydrogen, but Alexander Repkin will talk more detailed about these prospects for our market. Every year, UWEA published an overview of the wind energy market, which is very useful in terms of analyzing the development of wind energy in Ukraine. I invite you to the UWEA official website to get acquainted with our activity and market, of course. So thank you for your attention. If you have some questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thanks so much, Kateryna. That has been a very comprehensive overview, and I think that really reflects well the development of the market.